Okay, we are live for our Columbia School District School Board meeting for Monday, June 29th, 2026. Mr. Chairman, we're about to convene.
We're convened to executive session, the purpose to review the performance of a public employee. No action will be taken during the executive session.
The planned executive session time is from 6:30 to 7 p.m. tentatively, and we'll be back shortly after that.
Facebook Marketplace.
Okay, we are back from executive session. It is 7 o'clock on Monday, what do we call this, June 29th, 2026, for our June Columbia School District Business Board meeting. Chairman?
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, good news.
So good news, you're familiar with this picture, which is our middle school. I've been talking about this for a little bit. This now looks like this. So the demolition has begun. You see they've already started the framing. And so I'm happy to tell you that we are on our way. We are on track. You can already see the inside starting to take shape where they're framing that out. And so just want to tell you we are on track. And we've hit no unexpected speed bumps along the way. So all is good. But construction is underway at our middle school gym. Any questions?
Yes. Weren't you gonna look at some, I don't remember what it was, like maybe another sport or something was one?
So we're gonna let them get started on the construction, and then I'm gonna talk to them about a possible, what a vestibule would cost as an added piece to that project.
Okay.
But we're gonna let them get in, get framing. I actually have a walkthrough with the lead on Wednesday of this week where we're just gonna begin talking about that. Anything else?
Okay, moving on. Board Operating Principle Review. Hiring. Responsibility for selection, placement, and transfer of personnel shall be vested in the superintendent. Subject to board approval, the superintendent will have freedom to organize, reorganize, and arrange the administrative and supervisory staff, including instruction and business affairs, which, in his or her judgment, best serves the school district.
Thank you.
Any changes or
No
additions?
changes to tonight's agenda. It'll play out just like it is on the agenda.
Okay, moving on to the consent. Looks like we've got 4 items.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? on Any of the 4 items?
Mr. Hilberg, can you go through, there's quite a list of personnel there, can you just kind of give us the high points of those changes and some of the background and
Sure.
how comfortable we are?
Yep, so, the first one is someone who was filling that position and temporarily and is now continuing that position. She just finished her guidance counselor background, so I'm excited to be able to put her into that position, just continuing that position. Obviously, the second one's just a summer school piece, but we still have to post that. The third one is a former Columbia School District student coming back to work with us in a social services position. So it's new, not new to our district, but new to us as a employee. So we're excited with that new hire. Larry has worked with us previously as an evening custodian, is now moving to our day custodian, replacing Pete who's retiring. We're obviously approving the resignation of the assistant football coach. Life's circumstance changes with work, so, and then all the others are just temporary leave of absences for personal reasons.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous? Hearing visitors, seeing none? Reports and discussions.
Hand this over to Amber. June 2026.
Okay, enrollment for June. So for June, we ended at 731.85. Our annual average ended at 741.93. Budget status for general fund,
Again, this is still as of January. The county they emailed us Friday, they have posted some reports, in Excel. I haven't had a chance to go through and look at them yet. So hopefully next month we can have a more update, budget status here, but, these are still as of December. So as of December, we were at 2 million for general fund. Capital projects, 374,000. Debt service fund, 295,000. ASB fund, 194,000. And transportation vehicle fund, 136,000. Your cash flow sheets do show the state, apportionment amounts, those are current. So that, it should give you a good estimate if you, have reviewed that.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you, Amber. Appreciate you sticking with it through the county changes.
Okay.
So tonight, we have two administrative reports. I've asked them to briefly, just in a couple of minutes, summarize kind of how the second half of the year ended. You've already heard a mid-year piece, but tonight I've asked them to come to you both with some celebrations you'll hear, but I've asked them also to be pretty transparent about some struggles we have. And I want them to, you to be aware that, you know, we don't just come and present you all the rosy things. We'll also talk to you about some things that we're working on. So, so I'll give that over to Ms. Robillard to start with Columbia Elementary School.
Awesome. Hi, guys. So this is our end of the year iReady growth. So if you kind of look at the trajectory, luckily it was going in the right direction. So we want the one that's going up, right? So the orange and the blue shows where we started in the fall. Then we have that midwinter time, which is the time you guys kind of see that like break where we started to go up, and we ended really well. So for our reading, we started at 16% of our students that were reading showing at grade level. We moved that all the way up as a building to 50%, so that's fantastic growth. And for math, we started in the fall at 9% and made it all the way up to 48% that were at or above grade level. So we made some fantastic growth overall, and we really decreased that 2 years or below. So those kids that were showing that 2 years below really made those gains. It was fantastic. So that's the stuff we want to see, kind of going along. And then I dug in a little bit to what we can see for our SBA data, because I always want to see those correlations between our SBA end of the year stuff and iReady. So I kind of dug into this a little bit, and I took two cohorts, our current fourth grade and our current fifth grade, and I wanted to see how they did last year in comparison to how they did this year. Now, remember that the SBA results aren't completely, finalized. They give you a rough piece, right? But I kind
She's
of,
talking about our state assessments now.
but I just kind of wanted to see what that looked like. So we really in our building the last 2 years focused on ELA, and our growth in our data showed that. So a cohort, our current fourth graders that just finished, went from 36% of our students that were testing at grade level all the way up to 48%. Our fifth graders went from 21% to 35%. Unfortunately for math, we did drop, so now we know coming in next year, we've got to start focusing back on math, because we put so much energy and time training into our ELA.
So this would be the same students, just
Yes.
third grade and
Yep.
then that's fourth grade.
Exactly. Yep, because I wanted to see apples to apples on where they grew, right? So it's great. We've got a good trajectory. Unfortunately, like I said, for math, that's kind of the thing. Also remember, for our third, fourth, and fifth grade teachers this year, we went from content specific to homeroom, so they had to kind of relearn how to teach some things, so there was a little bit of a struggle on some of those pieces. But they are loving the back to homerooms. And then I just took it one step further, because I wanted to put our SBA data next to our iReady data to see how much they correlated. Our teachers really said that when they took the math test, it did not look or feel anything like what it did in the past. The kids really kind of complained about it. So I just kind of wanted to see how close it was on the data. And as you can see, ELA, pretty similar across the board. But our students did exceptionally better in the iReady math than they did on the SBA, same group of kids. So could be a testing thing, could be, a piece with our teaching. So we'll kind of go back and dig into that a little bit more, but just gives us a little bit more information on where we're going to grow and kind of things that we can look at next year as we're planning through. Any questions about any of that?
How much data stuff did you do in your previous work? I mean, how do we compare to, because we've really put some emphasis on it in the last 10 years, you know?
Yeah, I've done a lot of data in my last 2 buildings. This is a big thing. This is how I get a little geeky outy on this stuff. So I apologize. I was trying to give you little snapshots. I could dig really deep into it. However, in comparison to a lot of buildings, it's pretty similar. Now, my previous building was very high socioeconomic. It was one of the highest performing in Richland. So even that building specifically did not compare to the rest of the town. But our scores here are probably pretty consistent with an average building. That being said, I always have high expectations, so we're just gonna keep pushing up a little bit higher.
I just love that we're making decisions based on, the data in front of us.
Yes, yeah, and that's what we'll just keep pushing through that, exactly. And then this is our Swiss kind of end of the year, so on the bottom, it shows our average referrals per day, per month, right? So that graph just kind of shows like how many did we get per day. What I love about that graph is last year, as the year went on, it did decrease because teachers get tired and they don't always want to input the data, right? That's part of what it is. We want to see those graphs, even though they are, kind of high at times, it shows that our teachers were really committed to keeping the data, which really helps us to drive that tier 2 instruction and make decisions. So at the top, this is our kids who did check-in, check-out. So those were the amount of students that we put into our tier 2 program, which is check-in, check-out. That was our main one that we used. That dark line at the top is 80%. That is the amount of points or the goal for the kids to hit. And as you can see, we actually made some really tremendous progress with those kids. So these are our kids that our normal tier 1 stuff was not working. So we went above and beyond, did check-in, check-out, had additional programs, works with families, and I feel like we did a really great job with that. So that is, our counselor took that and ran with it and really did some phenomenal things, so.
A lot of things that go with she's giving you very top surface levelness, but when I showed you the data, I was in there talking about our data systems that we had for those components. This is what she's showing you, evidence of those data systems we had for those tier 2 pieces.
And this is really helping us to drive now with our next steps, which is our tier 3. So tier 1 is really doing great. We really have a lot of tier 2 things into play. This is check and check out. Also in comparison, we have breaks. So our data tells us what kind of tier 2 program we need. And then this is one of them. We don't have data for our other piece just because that hasn't come to fruition yet quite on that, how we pull the data. But we're always using the data to decide how to help our kiddos. So this program has really helped us a lot with that. Any other questions? That's what I got for you.
All right, Mr. Miller?
Do I just keep arrowing ahead?
Same thing.
Yay. So we have a new set of data points from the last time that you saw our iReady scores. And did something slightly different. So you'll see our special populations as a group and our non-special populations as a group, just, again, I guess comparing apples to apples. And definitely what that did is make our, regular ed students' numbers definitely look a lot better. But one thing about this, what you're looking at right there is iReady in math for our special populations. We're talking over the course of this year's sophomores, from the first time they took the test at the beginning of their freshman year until the last time they took the test just a month ago. In overall math, 3 grade levels worth of growth. In algebraic comprehension, 2.9, in geometric comprehension, 2.5.
I
Now,
also remember a couple of years ago, this is the area that they were, high school was awarded for work that was done with that group. We continue to see that group, excelling multiple grade levels, which you have to have at some point.
now, if you look at those numbers, ending at 6.3, that stands for sixth grade. 6.5 stands for sixth grade. 5.3 stands for fifth grade. So those numbers look kind of stressful, but when you're talking about that kind of growth, that's good stuff. If you look at where they would be in the mix, that's still several grade levels below where they should be, obviously. But some wonderful, wonderful growth. In our special population groups, which is migrant, bilingual, and then students on individualized educational programs, we do use the iReady program quite a bit. So they're exposed to it a lot more, and they use it a lot more than almost all of our general population students.
Part of their
use
coursework.
iReady. It's actually, part of their coursework. Anyway, kicking ahead to the, I guess, everyone else group, if you take those numbers out, we're still flirting with 2 full grade levels or 2 full years worth of growth across the board for all of our students, which is pretty fantastic. I think if we somehow could incentivize the testing progress a little better, I should state that I did pull out a few flagged tests that 2 years ago in the fall, this kid tested it 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, something like that. And then this year when they took it, they tested it 2nd or 3rd, and it got flagged for rush. Pulled those. But anyway, growth-wise, pretty stoked with that. 2 years of growth in 2 years' time, especially when the majority of these students, they don't really use the iReady for math. In reading, sorry,
Can I go back to that?
absolutely.
So this is the whole high school, right?
So this is the whole high school minus our special population students.
So what does a normal high school like ours look like? Would there be some 9th, 10th grade levels, or are they all?
So you're gonna have below that and above.
Now, these are median,
So it's
or
right
not
in the
median,
middle,
these are mean scores.
So you're
So
having
we have a good chunk
half
of kids
below,
that are at
half
11,
above.
at 10.
Well, but, so you say the class of 28, so in the fall of 24, they were freshmen.
Correct.
And so they were, when they started out, they were on average about 3 grade levels behind.
Correct.
When you got done with them 2 years later, you caught them up.
They're a grade level and a half behind in overall math. And again, those are average scores. So every single kid's score was broken into what grade level is that kid at, and averaged together.
I'll jump into one of these that Kyle's probably gonna hit, so hopefully I don't steal your thunder on this one. One of the conversations we're having at the high school level is we've looked and now we're being able to see multiple years and how this plays out, and even talking to kids. At the elementary and middle school, the reason he talks about this as part of their coursework and as part of their not, when you take these diagnostic assessments, it sets up students for what they call their work on their MyPath, which is their individual work that they're doing. So they go in and they use that, and depending on how they score, when they're done with lesson X, Y, or Z, they go to their independent study, and it's based on their MyPath, and they're working on wherever they're at, and they score on this. So there is a direct correlation to, hey, if I score here, this is what I work on. In the high school, it has a separate set of curriculum, so that tie is not there, with the exception he's talking about of the specialized populations. So you're missing that incentive of that, hey, I go back, it's important how I do on this, because if I don't do well, I'm gonna make this up as a sophomore, junior, and I score out of 2nd grade, big deal, what does it matter, right? Because I'm only taking this a couple times a year, I don't come back to this. There's an added incentive in the other levels because, as a 5th grader, you don't want to be doing single digit by single digit addition, right? You want to be doing 5th grade material to that. So there is a struggle, being honest and candid about how do you make this assessment more meaningful? And I can tell you from talking, my own superintendent's kid, right? Who's, I kind of just did it and hurried up through it and something like that. So we do have the numbers, but we're trying to find a way, how can we more accurately show you what that looks like? That isn't that, you know, that is a real conundrum for the high school, saying, how do you make sure you get the most out of all the kids for all these pieces? So when he talks about how do you incentivize that, that's what he's referring to in some of those pieces.
Thank you, that helps.
Yeah, thank you. And, but again, we're talking 2 years of school and 2 years of growth. 2.1, 2.1, 2.4. Nothing to be impressed about. Same thing with reading. These are our special population students, and again, that's really fantastic growth. These are kids that would absolutely, on average, these are the averages again, would show up as well below grade level. But made some stellar growth. And again, these students do use for reading the iReady program pretty consistently, so hopefully their growth is greater. There's our non-special population students. Again, we're flirting with 2 years of growth, over 2 years of growth across the board. Overall vocabulary and comprehension. Very pleased with that. Questions on iReady? Next thing, so the National Center for Restorative Justice, this was a recommended class that Dr. Hoyt wanted me to take last year. She's our MTSS guru, and Miss Beth Harrington sent me to it. What did I come back with? Came back with restorative circles, which, as you can see, that's all about conflict awareness and engagement and empowering and empathy and agency. And in some ways, for me, that's a struggle. So I remember 20 years ago when a kid blew their top, I said, bye, see you next week. And you just can't, we're not allowed to do that type of thing anymore. Insubordination is a conversation and a how do we work through this rather than a kick in the pants. So some great things. The Coyote Restorative Circles, we brought that back. On the right-hand side is kind of what we go through when we do a Coyote Restorative Circle. We do them every Monday, and we do them for students who have either been referred by a teacher or a parent, or just have a bunch of referrals in the Swiss program for kind of comparable behavior. So the Tier 2 team says, this kid needs to get in. We've done them based on behavior, just insubordinate behavior being the biggest. We've done them based on tardiness, and we've done them based on unexcused absences. If you look at the blue, from the first blue to the second blue, we had 42 students who over the course of the year took part in their very first Coyote Restorative Circle. The great news there is that 11 of them repeated. So out of 42 kids, what does that mean? 31 of them went through a restorative circle, and then for that specific insubordinate behavior or bringing a vape or whatever, did not get redisciplined for that behavior. 11 out of those 42 students did get redisciplined for that behavior.
Either learned a new skill or said, I don't want to, or I don't want to go through that again.
Precisely. Our stats on tardiness aren't quite as good, but you can tell that's about a third of non-repeats. And our stats on unexcused absences are same ballpark, about a third. Good news on these, Ms. Harrington is sending us back to this same workshop, and we're taking about 5 staff members with us, and they're going to start doing some as well, which I'm stoked about because that takes a handful of them at least off of my plate. But it also puts somebody hopefully into the system that's not old and crotchety and set in their ways like I am. might have a little better with some new blood in the system. Looking forward to that. And finally, Check and Connect. Mr. Hillberg and Ms. Harrington were so awesome to, what, a year ago now? let us hire Aurelio Merlin with lap money. And he has taken on, again, a recommendation from the good doctor, Dr. Hoyt, the Check and Connect program. In a nutshell, what's Check and Connect? Meet with the kid, try to get a hook into them, set some goals, track the goals, follow up with parents. How can you support this kid? How can you support better attendance or better behavior, or in almost every case for us, better grades in your classes? So Mr. Merlin started out, Mr. A, the kids call him Mr. A. He started out with a Check and Connect group, peaked at 11 students. Our Tier 2 team, seeing how much success Mr. Merlin was having with his Check and Connect students, decided that each person on the Tier 2 team is gonna pick up kind of the next rung. So Mr. Merlin had kids who had the most Fs. Most of his caseload at one point in time was failing 7 classes. The Tier 2 team group, each of us picked 2 or 3 that were kind of next level, failing several classes. And that's what the numbers look like. The blue kids are Mr. Merlin's. At one point in time, his 11 student caseload had 73 F grades. That's out of 77 possible, so that's kind of frightening. By June, 16 Fs. And when one of those kids was accounted for 6 or 7 all by themselves, makes it look even better. I probably should adjust that and said out of the 10 most successful. The orange is the rest of the Tier 2 team. We had 23 kids that we divvied up amongst us. Obviously, in comparison, far fewer Fs per kid. Pretty solid success getting 103 F grades by their peak down to 47 F grades. That's average of 2 a kid by the end of the school year. So feel pretty good about that. Feel pretty good about the Check and Connect. Actually have to applaud Dr. Hoyt. She gave us a great suggestion.
Beyond that, though, you're seeing systems being built in each of those buildings. So Jillian's talking about the elementary, check in, check out. That's what Kyle's doing at the high school level. They call it Check and Connect. There's a similar piece to that that builds through our systems. It looks different. It should feel different because they're a lot older, right? But you're seeing a consistent system being built in those pieces. How we go about addressing students when the data tells us they hit a certain point.
Super valuable, by the way, the Check and Connect. Useful for Peyton, I can tell you that. Just
Awesome.
Do you feel like the methods you used are sustainable, or will you need more resources moving forward to keep this going in the right direction?
It's awesome having Mr. Merlin. That's, in the majority of my tenure, we, down at the high school, didn't get to spend any lap money or title money or anything like that. I believe he's fully funded out of lap. If he left, this would be tough. But as far as, programmatically, people poking and prodding and pushing kids constantly, so that part's not gonna change. It's just the formality of it, the formalness of it, I guess. It's nice having someone who is the Check and Connect guy.
Do you think that the old carrots and sticks still have any valid basis for student?
That's kind of what this is, I guess, truly. It's putting a name on something that, when you had Pat Haas in class, something tells me if you were not doing your work, he might call home and say, Mrs. Scrimshire, could you tell Michael to get his butt to work? We're just being pretty formal about it, I guess, rather than teachers doing that type of thing in isolation and not really communicating with one another about it. Now we've got a Tier 2 team that's looking at those types of data. How often is it happening? How often is it happening with Michael Scrimshire? And is it enough to the point that we should put Aurelio on him as a target?
What the two of them are doing is they're surveying the entire building, so we're trying to ensure the kids, I mean, you know, it's not perfect, but you don't allow them to fall through the cracks, right? And you're trying to catch them all. It's not because they happen to get teacher A that happens to make that call. We have systems within our buildings to ensure those things happen.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you both. You're free to go. You're welcome to stay if you're excited to hear the rest of this.
I have family in town from North Dakota, so I'm gonna sneak out.
Okay.
I'm going to be supportive of my colleague.
Walk her to her car.
Dangerous world out there.
It's getting dark out there.
It is.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks again, appreciate all that.
Okay, next update is the field trip update. This is under reports, not new business, not asking for approval. I am just giving you updates, as I promised, when we pursue a field trip. So I'm excited to let you know, I'm not gonna read all this to you, so the information's there for you, but Mrs. Maxwell typed up, this is what our students are doing. But we had a group of students had an awesome opportunity to go to Florida this summer through Gear Up. And so it was grant funded. This is not a district expenditure through Gear Up. And they were able to go to NASA. How cool is that? There you see Columbia students down in Florida and participating. They actually got to go to the SpaceX, you could see, and see behind the scenes launch stuff. And I mean, I probably should go back if you want to read what they're doing. It's all on here and what they're up to, but that's the pictures showing our kids, Columbia Burbank kids down in Florida, experiencing some cool on-the-site stuff about, you know, their potential future and things that they could be doing in the world. So just wanted to share that, brag a little bit about that, and real thrilled that our students have an opportunity to experience those things. They also got to go to some other educational pieces. You can see they got to go to some museums, and again, there's a write-up on some of the pieces in the upper left. I won't read that to you, but these were sent to me this week, so you can see our coyotes down in Florida living their best life. So this week, I'd have pictures for you, but they're doing this right now. So June 29th through the 2nd, we've got some additional kids. That group's back from Florida. We've got a pair of students going to Arizona now. And so you can see what they're doing. They're looking at Mrs. Maxwell's with that group again. College of Career Readiness workshops. You can see they're going to Arizona State University, University of Arizona. They're really excited. I've heard about all this biosphere they're going to be going to go see. So again, I don't have pictures because they're doing all this week, but this is my just updating you on what students are up to this summer. Okay. Thank you. All right, I'm going to move on to additional reports. Excited to update you again on the Walwall County Sidewalk Project. I've literally been walking you along as we've been going through this project. No pun intended. Actually, yes, it was. But the update I want to give you is that we do have one, what I'll call snafu, we're trying to work through. If you look at this map right now, there's an issue on Cherry Street specifically, and you'll see the town site, the map there where it has lots 7 through 11 there. That is the elementary school playground area. In fact, if I fast forward and show you, that's a better picture of it. So you see where that's located at, but on Cherry Street. The grant itself will not allow them to put that sidewalk on the south side of that parking lot or the playground area because there's no easement there. It's district property. And they can't continue as a county to do that with some sort of easement to do that work there. I've assured the county that we want them to continue the project there. If they don't get easement access, literally the engineers are telling me because they have easement access over here, they're literally gonna have to take Cherry Street and move it over into that. And I've just said, how about I work with our attorneys, we try and draft up some paperwork that allows for a shared easement, and this is all the work outside of that fence area, to lay that sidewalk there. So as long as, go ahead, Michael.
How would they move Cherry Street over?
Well, there's actually a space where they park on the other side of that street, that there is an easement before that. So they would literally take up space on the other side of that road and have to, you can imagine how our neighbors might feel about that. And so it would basically shift this over about, so many feet. And I said, we've already got that space there, we've got there, as long as there's no objections from them. I'm working with our attorneys right now to work on the paperwork that allows an easement to it without giving it to them, but allows them to build there and share that right-of-way access.
It's just
Questions?
7 feet, is that all it is?
Actually, the total, if you remember, that piece on there is about 13 feet. But it's all the area, I mean, you've seen the fence line, they're not moving the fence line, it's just, they don't have any right-of-way access to build on that piece, and they can't do that with having some sort of shared piece. I did get a response from our attorney today. He's already looked at their paperwork and suggested a few edits on our side. And so the engineer called me, and I told him I was meeting with you guys tonight from Walla County. I told him after the meeting tonight, I'd get back with him next week, provided you have no objections for me, that we're gonna go back and work. And I told him I had some suggestions for the paperwork following our legal review of that piece. So I'm assuming, that's why I just put as a report, not new business, you're all still in favor. We want to provide the access for that walking area, provided we can do that through an easement. The concern on that is we're not giving the property away. We don't want to do that. And also, we can't obviously gift of, public funds and things of that nature. But I have no problem sharing an easement for them to build that there. Go ahead, Michael.
But if the sidewalk is only 4 or 5 feet wide, why are they talking 13 feet though? I mean, what's the,
The sidewalk's about 13 feet wide.
wow,
I didn't design that. That's in their plans. If you look in those plans,
that's not a
They're-
sidewalk, that's a driveway.
they are 13-foot sidewalks in that area. That is not by my doing. That is required by them and their funding source.
Okay.
I think we're good. I mean, even if we're to build new buildings, we gotta be 25 or 30 feet off property lines anyway, so it isn't gonna impede us from building.
Okay. But you're all still comfortable with me working, as long as our attorneys have double and triple checked everything, working with easement paperwork and sharing that right-of-way access to, they can build right on that, on the edge of our property there.
I think so.
Okay.
In the name of safety.
I see Crystal nodding her head, so I just wanted to get a read on that. All right, perfect. So I'll continue with that. It's just that one area. Everything else is still good to go. They're waiting for a heads up, so I'll begin working on that tomorrow. Reminder, WASDA, we're getting to this to you early. Conference registration in the fall, November 19th through the 21st. It's back in Spokane this year. So this year's theme is Impact. And if you're interested, talk to Nakia. Signing up for the fall conference. I'll be going to it again, but love to see as many of you guys that can make that attend the fall conference.
I'll go again as I normally do. I've submitted a presentation, and if they have enough people vote that they want to see it, I'll be presenting up there.
At the conference.
Conference.
Okay.
It's a little thing I wrote years ago called the 9 Commandments of Being a Good School Board Member. Kind of what I've seen and learned in all these years about getting along and keeping things quiet. And anyway,
I think you handed us that.
yeah, you've seen it. It's
New business. You ready to move on? Okay, so in your packet, you see the social studies adoption paperwork. Reminder that tonight I'm bringing to you it's a 612 core adoption. Core materials, as a reminder, by policy have to go through board approval. With social studies, the new regulations require us to consult with our local tribes, which you can see we have in our paperwork. We were consulted. We actually met with them. Colville was the only group that even got back to us that wanted to entertain a conversation with us. And so we spoke with them over Zoom. They were satisfied after our one Zoom meeting, and we continued on. You can see our committee members we had, from our chair, myself. We had our ESD regional curriculum coordinator take part in all this work. Teachers, we had our technology director, Billy administration through this. This took the better part of, I'll call it 6 months, half this year we met on and off, working through pieces. You actually, in your packet, have about a 3+ page write-up if you want to hear the actual, what they thought about the specifics of that. I asked them to put that together so you could read their thoughts on the specific, how it ties in. But that is directly from the teaching staff. You see that write-up and their recommendation, as well as our ESD curriculum coordinator put that together for you. More a narrative, but I want you to be able to read it from them on their thoughts. And just to know, just to follow up, we did follow procedure. Our policy and procedure 2020 and 2020P requires us to take this through a community notification that was put out through our website and our newsletter, June 1st through the 15th. So that was put out there. We did not have anyone come in and ask to view or review the materials. And we're bringing to you tonight the Gibbs Smith Washington State History, since time immemorial, local tribal material, and the National Geographic middle school and high school materials.
Was the group unanimous?
100%.
Okay. Entertain a motion.
Make the motion to accept as recommended.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, Brad, there wasn't even someone asking, pushing for anything else.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous?
Board calendar review, and on July 27th, we have our budget hearing. As a reminder, we'll talk a little bit about next month, you know, the wishes of the group for the August retreat, where we can talk goals and some of those pieces. Any other items you want to bring up, fine. Also, this is also the time of the year. I also invite, if anyone wishes to sit down with myself or Amber, and we do have an informal budget preview. We've already got that presented and ready to go. That's really if you're like, hey, give me the numbers behind the numbers a little bit. We can sit down and just walk you through that ahead of time. And that's just you just emailing me, texting me saying, hey, I want to come in on such and such date. We don't meet as a group because we can't have a quorum, but this is just me giving you information so that you have a deeper understanding of that budget before you come to that July 27th meeting. If you can't make it, that's fine, but if this is just hey, I want to come in and understand the numbers a little bit more beforehand, you just seek me out, and I'd be more than happy to sit down and do a preview of that with you.
But the budget hearing is a regular school board meeting, though.
Correct. I'm just offering a preview session of that, so that if you're the one that wants to see some numbers before then, if that makes you feel more comfortable, I'm ready to sit down and go through those with you. In the past, I've come to you, meet you at lunch, we can do any of those things. Or if you're like, I'm good with the 27th meeting, that's fine.
Okay.
That's it.
Anything further?
That's all.
Very good.
Who brought all this sugar here?
Had to have been
Kyle,
more.
did Kyle bring it?
Kyle. He usually does it.
Okay.